Today's lesson, lesson 1.2, is graphing the quadratic functions in either vertex or intercept form. The first one we're going to do is vertex form. Vertex form will have the form of y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The reason this is called vertex form is because your h and your k is your vertex. So we're going to do an example, and the example is y equals 2 times x minus 1 squared plus 3. Alright? We want to know what our vertex is, and so the vertex, again, it needs to be in this exact form, minus h and a plus k. So I can look and see it says minus 1 and plus 3. So my vertex is 1, 3. Now, it's going to also let me know, my A lets me know if it opens up or down, and I have a positive 2, so it's going to open up. Alright, so I'm going to go plot my vertex. I have, again, this is my x positive, my y negative, my x negative, and my y positive. A positive 1 and a positive 3, so there is my vertex. The next thing I want to do is solve to find 2 other points. Alright, so I'm choosing to solve when x equals 0 and when x equals 2. What that means is I'm going to put 0 in the place of my x and solve right here. So I'm going to do that first. 2 times 0 minus 1 squared plus 3 and solve. So I'm going to say 2 times a negative 1 squared plus 3. A negative 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2 plus 3, which gives you 5. Alright, so that lets me know that this point right here is 0, 5. So I can come over and I can plot that point, 0, and I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I want to do the same thing for x equals 2. I can say 2 times 2 minus 1 squared plus 3 equals 2 times 2 minus 1 is 1, squared is 1, plus 3 equals, I've got 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3, again it equals 5. So this point is 2, 5. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go over 2, and I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to draw my curve. And again, you want to put your arrow so you know the line keeps going up. And that is graphing in vertex form. Now, when we're looking at intercept form follows the form of y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. The reason it's called intercept form is because your p and your q cross the x-axis, and that's called the x-intercepts. And so our example for this formula is y equals 3 times x minus 4 times x plus 2. Alright, for this, the first thing I'm going to do, because I know that my P and Q are my intercepts, I'm going to go ahead and plot those points. But the negative 4 does match my negative p, so I can go ahead and say that means my p is at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But my 2, it's not in negative form, it's in a positive. The operation is the opposite of what I need. And so I need to go ahead and change this to say x minus a negative 2, because a minus a negative equals a positive. So my q is actually a negative 2. And so I'm going to go ahead and plot that point. All right, the next thing to do is finding the vertex. You find the vertex in intercept form by adding your p plus q and then dividing by 2 to get your x. All right, so my p was 4, my q was a negative 2, so plus a negative 2 divided by 2. 4 plus a negative 2 gives me 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So again, now that this is my x of my vertex, I plug it into the original equation. So 3 times 1 minus 4 times 1 plus 2 equals 3 times 1 minus 4 is a negative 3, and then 1 plus 2 gives me 3. And so I can say a negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9 times 3 is a negative 27. Now that we have our x and our y, we're going to come over and we're going to graph it again. But this time, because I'm limited in how many lines that I have for my negative y, I'm going to count by 3. All right, so I'm going to go over 1, and I'm going to go down 27. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. I'm going to plot my point, and then I'm going to draw as smooth as a curve as I can. And remember to make your arrows go up. That way you know it continues on. And if there's ever a time you cannot remember if it's supposed to point up or down, you look at your A, which is in this equation, it was a positive 3. Positive always points up. Now there are going to be times when you need to change the intercept form and vertex form back into the standard form. And so we need to know how to FOIL to be able to do that. All right, FOIL, F-O-I-L, stands for first terms, outer terms, inner terms, terms, and last terms. What this tells you is you multiply first times first, the outer times outer, inner times inner, and last times last. So we have an example, and my example is y equals a negative 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 6. Now keep in mind that this right here that we're looking at, this equation, is in intercept form. We want to put it back into standard form, and so we're going to use this part of the equation, these two terms, sets of terms, the x plus 2 and x plus 6. for our FOIL. And so our first of the parentheses times the first of the parentheses, x times x gives us x squared. First times first. Our outer times outer, that means the outer portion of this parentheses times the outer portion of the second parentheses is x times 6, which gives us 6x. All right, that covers outer times outer. Inner times inner, we look at the inner part of the first set of parentheses times the first part of the second parentheses, that's the inner times the inner, so 2 times x gives us 2x. And then our last times last, the last term of the first parentheses and the last term of the second parentheses is 2 times 6, which gives you 12. All right, I'm going to go ahead and keep my parentheses because I still have this negative 2. The next thing you want to do is combine like terms. I can see in the middle here, I've got a 6x and a 2x. So I'm going to add, remember, only add your whole numbers. So I have the 6 plus the 2 gives me 8x. And then we bring down my x squared. We bring down my 12. And we bring down the negative 2. At this point, you have completely FOILed x plus 2 times x plus 6. Now, we have to distribute our negative 2 into the whole equation, the whole parentheses. So that means a negative 2 times x squared gives me a negative 2x squared. A negative 2 times 8x, which gives me a negative 16x, and a negative 2 times 12 gives me a negative 24. So once we have FOILed, we now have our intercept form of a negative 2x times x plus 2 times x plus 6 into standard form, which is a negative 2x squared minus 16x minus 24. And that is the end of graphing quadratic functions in Vertex for Intercept Form.